Welcome to Wanderlust and Wishes, the podcast where we explore the world one destination at a time.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Krystle.
As travel agents with fantastical vacations, we are here to share our passion for travel and help you turn your wanderlust into reality.
From hidden gems to bucket list adventures, join us as we dive into the sights, sounds, and stories of our favorite destinations.
So grab your passport, pack your bags, and let's embark on this journey together.
Welcome to episode 37 of Wanderlust and Wishes. Today, we're going to talk about rope drop strategies at Walt Disney World. But first, we have a couple of news nuggets.
First up, word on the street is that the Galactic Star Cruiser space is going to become office space used for all the Disney Imagineer teams coming to Disney World for the projects rolling out in the next few years. So, this is kind of funny because it would be kind of perfect. Like, hey, come live and basically stay at this resort and we'll just take care of you because it has a kitchen, it has beds, it has probably stuff that they could use as like meeting rooms.
Yeah, conference rooms.
But what a waste of money.
I'm sure that they're going to do something with it eventually, but I did kind of giggle when I saw this because I think everybody's kind of waiting to see what they do with it. And then this is what this is the first thing. They're like, we need some space for all these people that are going to be coming on site to do work. So let's just throw it out there for that.
Lucky Imagineers.
Yeah. Next, Donkey Kong has been added to the Epic Universe meet and greet lineup. He'll be joining Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Toad in the meet and greets at Super Nintendo World. So the countdown is on.
Don't tell Calder. He loves Mario characters. He loves Donkey Kong.
Yep, the countdown is on for this. That I cannot wait to do that roller coaster. It's going to be so fun.
I saw a ride point of view the other day of someone testing it, and I was so pumped. Next is the Dine and Play has returned to Disney Cruise Line. This program allows diners at the second seating to send their children with Oceaneer Club staff members to the Kids Club space while the adults are able to finish their meal at a leisurely pace. This option was available previously and was paused due to COVID. And I know so many people have asked about it and really loved this option, especially if you have young kids and they're like half falling asleep, or even if staff brings their dinner out first, then it's like, well, they're bored while you're trying to finish your dinner.
Right. And it's not that they haven't had the option to go to a kids club since COVID. It's just you had to take them. You would have to, one of the adults would have to get up and take them to wherever that is. And this option basically allows you to not have to get up. You can continue to eat your dinner. Cast members come by and, swoop in and take your kids so that you don't have to do that anymore. So that's nice. The next one, I am actually a little heartbroken because I don't know how I feel about this. The Jelly Roll's Dueling Piano Bar has announced that it will be leaving Disney's Boardwalk sometime after the spring season. I mean, that's pretty soon.
That is soon. I did hear a rumor like a long time ago, but it was kind of squashed. Yeah. So I'm surprised to see that it's like come to fruition.
It's kind of sad. And they have hinted that they may reopen, but it's going to be a location outside of Disney World. And at this point, there's no news or no word from Disney about what is going to replace it on the boardwalk. So it's kind of sad.
I just don't think it would do as well outside of Disney. Like, that's the draw.
Yeah,
they took the ESPN zone away. And now, like, what else is there to do at late at night on the boardwalk?
It's sad.
We had fun there. We had a great time.
Yeah, it was fun. Super fun. I mean, and I think like dueling piano bars are fun regardless. They're very fun.
Shout out to Danielle for her rendition. We love you, Danielle.
Yes. That one memory will be one I keep always. It was amazing. So moving on to our topic today, we're going to talk about rope drop strategies. And we're going to talk through rope drop just in general, kind of how it works and what it is. But then Krystle and I are each going to talk through how we rope drop with our families, because Krystle's children are younger and my kids are older now. And it is different when the different depending on the ages. And I do want to say, as we talk through this, at least for me, I definitely included lightning lanes, using lightning lanes, and in some instances not using lightning lanes. And the assumption is that we are on property so that we have access to early entry. First of all, rope drop, if you aren't aware, is Disney terminology for the time when a theme park or part of the theme park opens for the day. Historically, when Walt Disney World Park is closed, Disney often uses ropes that are stretched across the entrance to prevent guests from coming in. Thus, when the park is opened again, the rope is dropped. And that's where that terminology comes in. When Disney states that one of their parks opens, for example, at 9 a.m., that's when the rides and the other attractions begin operating. However, you will almost certainly be able to enter the parks before that. You won't be able to enter the entire park, but they will let you in a certain area. They'll let you in past where you scan in with your Magic Band.
Magic Kingdom is a good example of this. When it is posted open time of 9 a.m., you will most likely be able to scan your entry ticket at the gate as early as 8 or 8:10. In this situation at Magic Kingdom, for example, you will be allowed onto Main Street and the hub around the castle with the entrances to the various lands like Tomorrowland and Fantasyland blocked by ropes. So if you have early entry to get past like a certain point of cast members, they will scan your Magic Band or your park entrance just to like give you entrance into early entry. But if you don't have early entry, you could stand in line at Starbucks. You could shop at the Emporium. You could literally hang out for quite a while. So like I said, you would scan with cast members and then you would position yourself at the rope closest to the attraction that you want to experience first. If you are headed to Tomorrowland, kind of by the Tomorrowland bridge, there's a rope, and that's where you would line up. And you will then be positioned ahead of the many, many hundreds of guests who don't show up early for rope drop. We have been on the actual rope going to Fantasyland, and within minutes, you can turn around, and the rope there is like right outside the teacups. You can turn around, and it's just a sea of people for as far as you can see, like
It's
clear
vast.
back to the castle. Oh, there's so many people.
Yeah. And that's where they will scan your band. So even if, like Krystle was saying, you get in, if you don't have early entry, if you're not staying on property, you won't be able to get past that area. They used to not let you in the park, but now they've kind of started letting people in, and then they scan you at that cutoff point at the rope area. That's something I definitely had to get used to. Also, for early entry at Magic Kingdom, only Fantasyland and Tomorrowland are open. Liberty Square, Frontierland, and Adventureland, none of those rides are open. So definitely don't plan, if you're not using a travel agent, which is a very bad idea, and you're not getting help with your rope drop strategy, do not expect to go to any of those areas during early entry, because they're not going to be open, and you will miss out on the actual rides that are open because you've started going in the wrong direction, and everyone else will be going the other way. Another thing of note for Magic Kingdom, that even though it's in Tomorrowland, currently Tron is not open during early entry, but you can
They're
still
letting you
start
line up for
lining
it.
up. Yeah, you can still start lining up, and believe me, it does. So moving to Epcot for rope drop, there you have to think about the entrance you're going to. In most cases, where you're staying is going to dictate that. I mean, you don't necessarily have a choice. If you're staying at a Skyliner resort, or if you're staying at one of the Epcot resorts, you're going to be entering at the International Gateway side. If you're staying at a non-Epcot resort, or not on the Skyliner or using the monorail, you are going to be entering at the front of the park, and it's a totally different strategy as far as like how you get there and where you need to go.
Kind of a double-edged sword. It's nice to kind of be ahead of other crowds, but if you're trying to rope drop something that's not right there by your entrance, that's you're kind of SOL.
Yeah. And they do cut you off if you're coming in if you're coming in from the international gateway, they do hold you. It's like a little bit past the England area, I believe. They do
They
hold
let
you
you through the
there.
UK.
Yeah, they hold
Yeah.
you until it like everything opens. So just as an
And
FYI. And then coming from the
I've
other
been there when they've
direction,
done it the other direction. If you're trying to go through like Morocco and stuff, I've had them let me go through that way to Frozen before, but there are other times that they hold you at France and do not let anybody go that way. They make you go clear around the World Showcase.
yeah,
So don't try to like bypass the Remy line and run to Frozen
because of the
around the World Showcase. They'll make you go around the front. So it's just interesting because it's probably season dependent or who's working dependent. So
yeah.
it's subject to change.
So at Hollywood Studios, they have recently started letting everybody in, similar to how they kind of do it at Magic Kingdom. You used to not be able to get through scanning at the very entry point until for early entry unless you were on site, and now they're letting everybody through, and then they're just holding you like they do at Magic Kingdom at either over where Indiana Jones is, if you're going to Rise of the Resistance, basically, or over towards where Walt Disney Presents is, past Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway on that side, if you're trying to get to Slinky Dog. Those are basically the two spots. And if you if you don't have early entry, like they're going to scan you there and you won't be able to get through. So don't try it.
For Animal Kingdom usually is the first park to open in the mornings just because it closes so early. Sometimes it's a doozy to get there because it could open at 7 a.m. and early entries at 6:30.
Yeah, it hurt.
Oh, that hurts, especially if it's your last day.
And you only
So,
have bus transportation, so you can't even like just jump on the Skyliner and get there in 10 minutes.
yeah, so I would plan on getting there about 30 minutes before early entry and then tack on another 15 minutes for your bus ride just to give yourself enough time. Once you get to the park, you'll usually find all of Pandora along with It's Tough to Be Bug, although this is going to be closing. Expedition Everest, Dinosaur, and like already open. So they'll just kind of like queue you up to which way do you want to go? Here's a line for Pandora. Because the park has relatively few attractions, most guests who arrive at park opening have left the park by mid-afternoon. So the lack of attractions also means Animal Kingdom can get swamped from like mid-morning to early afternoon, especially during holidays. During slower or colder periods, the park may delay opening its secondary attractions like Cali River Rapids, the Maharaja Jungle Trek in Asia, as well as the Boneyard in Dinoland. It's going to be closing soon. The Wildlife Express train and conservation station may either open late or remain closed for the day. And Safari does not open for early entry. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Very important note. Do not head for the safari or you're going to be very disappointed.
So before we jump in, just take these as suggestions and do what is a priority for your family. I think we would both change things dependent on what we could or could not get with our Lightning Lane pre-selects. It could definitely change our course of action. So if it's a perfect world, this is what's going to happen.
These are somewhat best case scenarios.
So rope dropping with little kids. If you've been here for a minute, you know I have very strong thoughts on the importance of doing an any high ride as your first ride of the day, especially with littles. So let's jump in. First, Magic Kingdom. As we stated, this is special because only half the park is open for early entry. So technically, if you wanted, you could do a second rope drop for the left part of the park if you really, really wanted to.
Time it right.
But regardless, if I have lightning lanes or not, I am going to go to Peter Pan's flight first. I would rather try to rope drop it and try for other tier ones in my pre-select than wasting a tier one on Peter Pan's flight, especially if I'm trying for something like Tiana. Then I would knock out quickly like a Pooh or over to Buzz Lightyear. Both can be harder to get same day lightning lanes or the lines get stupid long. So that's kind of where my head would be. If I'm trying for the second rope drop or if I'm coming from, if I didn't make early entry, I would start with Jungle Cruise and just go there first and then probably hit Pirates quickly after.
For us, Magic Kingdom, we're like 90% of the time, we're definitely going to be using the multi-pass lightning lane. We're going to purchase a single pass lightning lane for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and rope drop Peter Pan, or depending on how we're feeling that day, Lena and Rob would do Peter Pan, and then Ella and I would rope drop Space Mountain. And just kind of like Krystle said, once we're kind of through that first early entry rope drop, we would head over to Big Thunder Mountain in Frontierland, which is closed right now, so it's going to really mess with our plan or the way we do things, but it's okay. Since it's closed, we would just head over to Jungle Cruise because that one is really difficult to get if you don't already have a pre-selected lightning lane for it. If we did happen to have a lightning lane already selected for Jungle Cruise for the day, then we would go to Haunted Mansion. Also, we would definitely, same with Krystle, we would try to get Tiana's as a lightning lane as well. And if not, we would try the virtual queue at 7 if for some reason we weren't able to get it, so that we could at least ride it since it doesn't have a standby queue at this point.
Yes. So I think once that standby queue for Tiana's opens, everything's gonna change. Yeah. I think because people will run there, or they'll just queue up to go to Frontierland and not even like ride all those other rides. But like we know our kids are pretty good first thing in the morning. It's not until about lunchtime, afternoon that they start breaking down. So we try to hit it really, really hard in the morning. And if we're there for a rope drop, especially somewhere like Magic Kingdom, we can hit 4 or 5 of those little kid rides. Yep. Like we can bang them out really quick, and it's one right after the other quickly. We talked about this in our doing Disney with toddlers, and I love Rider Switch, but if you're trying to do it with rope drop, I just feel like it wastes your entire early entry on one ride. All right, let's move over to Epcot. Like we mentioned earlier, this is really going to depend on what entrance you're coming in. And for us, it really depends on what is available for Lightning Lane for our pre-selects. If I can snag a Frozen pre-select, then we're going to rope drop Remy. If we can get a Remy pre-select, we'll go to Frozen. 90% of the time, we're coming in from International Gateway. If for some reason I didn't have my little girls with me, or we were coming through the front, I would go to Test Track once that opens, because that is Calder's favorite ride, and we would like to do that twice. If I'm coming from the front, just hoping and praying for a Remy Lightning Lane, because you'll still wait an hour if you try to run back there and rope drop it, because you'll be behind everybody from International Gateway. Yeah. So maybe try single rider, but if you have littles, you can't really single rider anyway. So it's a cute ride, but if it's any consolation, I don't love it, and it's a screen ride. So if I had to choose between Frozen and Remy, we're always going Frozen over Remy. So if it's your first time, try for it, but it's not as hyped up as it sounds. Don't send me hate mail.
Oh yeah, you can send me hate mail. I don't care. My family's not a big fan of Remy's either. I don't know why, because it is, I mean, at least the ride vehicle is very similar to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and that is one of our favorite rides. I don't know what it is. And it could be, maybe it's because it's so dark and it's the 3D glasses, or I don't know, but we are not ever going to rope drop Remy's unless maybe we're with someone that just really, really wants to do it. But if we're going just us, we're not. We're steering clear of the crazy madness of that line. We are probably going to rope drop Frozen Ever After and then head straight to Soarin' after. We don't typically do lightning lanes at Epcot because honestly, you don't need it except for those tier 1 rides. And if you can get there and you can do Frozen Ever After or whatever your rides are, I think it depends. If you want to be able to ride Remy's, Frozen, and Soarin', it might be worth it. But since we're not big fans of Remy's, it just doesn't make any sense for us. We do get a single pass lightning lane for Guardians. And then, as Krystle mentioned, once Test Track reopens in late summer, it's going to throw a kink into everything. So I may reconsider.
Well, and currently at the time of this recording, you cannot rope drop Guardians. Guardians is virtual queue or single pass only. So if that ever comes on just a standby line, that's going to also throw a wrench in things.
That's true. That's true.
That front part of the park is going to be the place to be with Test Track and Guardians once they finally open both of those. All right, next let's go over to Animal Kingdom. I'm probably going to get some slack for this because it's not everybody's favorite ride, but with little kids, go to Nobby River first. That line still averages a 90 to 120 minute wait a lot of days. So knock it out quick and then head over to the safari. The safari doesn't open for early park entry. And sometimes if you can get in the first couple boats of Nobby, you can still be pretty close to the front of the line for Flight of Passage if you have olders. So we've done that before too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this park once the Spanish Americas comes online. But for now, we just well, and Nobby and the Safari are the only any height rides right now.
I am not a big fan of Nobby River Journey, but
I know, and a lot of people aren't.
I understand Krystle's pain because you don't have that many rides. I mean, at this point, especially with, Triceratops Spin and, the other area, the Dinoland area completely, it's shutting down. It kind of leaves a big hole for littles. For us, Rob and Lena are going to head to Dinosaur until it's closed. That's their ride. That's where they're going to go. And then Ella and I go to Expedition Everest. And depending on the rides and depending on the crowds, we may get 2 rides each in for those.
That's kind of a good way to go because I feel like that right side of the park is a lot quieter in the morning because everybody runs to Pandora.
Yep. And we just do a single pass lightning lane for Pandora because I'm not dealing with that. I'm just not. I know not everybody can do that. So, but I just think it's worth it to buy the single pass lightning lane, especially when we're not going to buy the regular lightning lane. We're not going to do the multi-pass because I just don't think that you need to unless it's like at Christmas or something.
Yeah.
But
we never get up for Animal Kingdom either, which I'm sure will change when the rest of the park decides to revamp itself. But for the time being, it's not worth it to us.
And just like Krystle, basically, once we get those, whether we do 1 or 2 rounds, depending on how long it takes us, once the park opens for everyone, we head over to Kilimanjaro Safari. And I love going to Conservation Station. So usually after Safari, we immediately get off there because it's right there at the exit. And we go over there.
So my perfect morning for a toddler at Animal Kingdom. It's tight. So you have to line it up to the T and everything has to fall into place. But we rope drop Nobby. The big kids get on Flight of Passage with a rider switch. We hit Safari. There's no real traffic jams. And then as soon as we get off, we hit the first train to Conservation Station and do the drying experience. Mm-hmm. And then make it back as soon as possible as that class is over and get into the first showing of the Lion King show.
Yep.
So it's tight. It can be done. It might be a little stressful, but we've done it. It works. So I'm here to tell you it is possible.
I think it just depends on the crowd levels and how things are flowing, but I do not want to do Cali River Rapids, but my kids like it. I'm always the person that gets stuck under the waterfall or something. And so I don't want to ride it, but they love it. So we usually do ride it. And the Lion King or Festival of the Lion King, it's one of those rides or attractions that Krystle and I talk about that it kind of sucks all the people out, and I don't think unless it is just insanely crowded, you're probably not going to wait more than 30 minutes for that ride because even if you don't get on the next show, most of the people in front of you are going to get into that next show. And so you just have to wait through that one and then you're in. So that's also just a great one, period. where you really won't have to wait for too long, and it lets you like sit down and get out of the sun especially if it's hot.
I have still yet to ever be on Cali River Rapids because we always go
Don't do it.
when it's closed in like in February, March, or we just don't go to Animal Kingdom. Sorry, that's just where we're at in life right now. We just don't go to Animal Kingdom. All right, let's move over to Hollywood Studios. This is probably the park that we differ the most from the masses, just because we always go to Mickey and Minnie's, regardless of if we have a lightning lane or not. We love this ride so much. We will ride it twice if we do have a lightning lane. So we rope drop it. And this is one with rope drop every time we've done this. So don't quote me, but pretty accurate. We're on and off the ride before early park entry Slinky's even running. If the park opens at 9
Yeah.
and early entry starts at 8:30,
start.
we're on and off that ride and basically in line in Toy Story by 8:30 because they just start running it quickly. It's one of those that they can get away with that because it's an inside show building and no one can be like, hey, they started that early.
We love that ride too.
My second pick would be to hit up Toy Story Mania and hope for an early-ish Slinky dog with a rider switch to kind of hit both of those at the same time. But there's honestly not any height rides in this park, so it's a lot of rider switch or shows. So same kind of concept as Animal Kingdom. There's just not a lot for babies, sadly.
I know, and the couple of they've stopped one of the shows, the Cars, wasn't there a Cars show
Yeah,
that
the
they've,
Lightning
like,
McQueen
closed?
experience.
Yeah.
So we do really love the Frozen show. The Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular is pretty entertaining. We never do Beauty and the Beast for some reason.
Oh, we do. We always do it. Lena loves Beauty.
But this is basically if you have a toddler, you're probably doing a lot of shows unless you have older kids and you can rider switch. Or character meet and greets. There's lots of character meet and greets in this park.
So again, like Magic Kingdom, 90% of the time we're going to be using the multi-pass lightning lane at Hollywood Studios. It's just not worth it to me to stress out about it. We always rope drop Slinky Dog and during early entry. And then after we're off of Slinky Dog, we typically like run over to Smuggler's Run because it's still early enough that the park's not open yet usually. Ella and I will go to Tower of Terror after Smuggler's Run, and then Lena and Rob usually go to Toy Story Mania. We also always have a lightning lane for Toy Story Mania, so those lucky ducks get to go there twice. And then we typically also have lightning lane for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, so we don't rope drop it. It's just so hard to get a lightning lane for Slinky Dog. It's stressful. It's just easier for us to rope drop it. And the others were able to either get lightning lanes or were there early enough that the lines are not too long.
All right, I'm looking through timestamps of old trips. You can ask your front desk what time the buses are going to start running in the morning and what time the Skyliner is going to start running in the morning. And they'll always tell you about 40 minutes prior to early entry. That is always a lie. It is never correct. We always, if we want to be on the rope, if early entry starts at 8:30, I usually have my husband in line by 7 o'clock for the Skyliner. I have pictures of us at Pop Century, and the line is already across the bridge, wrapped up around Pop Century at 7:12 a.m. He was holding our spot, and the Skyliner started running at 7:24. So it was early. It was posted at 7:30 that it would be running, and we were in Hollywood Studios by 7:43. And they let us through early. And that was before they started like letting
everybody through.
So I would aim for at least an hour before early entry starts to just get in line, especially if you really want to be on the rope. If you don't care about being on the rope, you'll be fine, but just be there before early entry starts, basically.
If you're not a monorail or Skyliner resort, you definitely need to be out waiting on the bus as early as you can because it just takes longer. There's no way around it. once you get on the Skyliner, it's so fast to get there. And same thing, with the monorail, it's quick. But, the bus is going to take a little bit longer because they have to deal with traffic. Sometimes they have to assist someone that's in a wheelchair or, something of that nature. And they also have to help them get out. And that just, it's just the nature of a bus. And you don't have to deal with that type of delay with the monorail and the Skyliner.
Yes. So just some quick tips that we like to do to make sure we're out the door in time. I lay everybody's outfits out the night before. I'll shower the kids the night before, so we're not dealing with that in the morning. We typically order breakfast, like bars or Pop-Tarts, and we like to eat on the go, or we will eat on the Skyliner or on the bus. So it's not uncommon for, like I said, John will go get in line, and then he'll take a kid with him, and then I'm coming with the stroller and I like to have my stroller packed and ready the night before. So it's literally set the baby in, walk out the door, and get there. It's especially the third and fourth mornings. It's a struggle to get out the door.
Yeah, because everybody's exhausted and you're like, everybody's dragging.
Yeah, so that's when we call the minivan and say, hey, can you get us to the front of Magic Kingdom? Which we've done from Caribbean Beach, so we weren't having to deal with the buses, but if you prepare the night before, your morning will go so much smoother.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have your park bag ready. And I realize like sometimes you have to, you have to charge something or whatever, and just have it next to the bag so that you don't forget it. Have everything laid out and ready to go so that you don't have to think about it. Another thing that you can do from the bus perspective, you are able to see bus times in the app. It's in the section where your resort is listed. There's an area where it has bus times, and it will show you when the next bus is supposed to be available. And that also can help you time it so that you're getting to the bus stop area at the right time so you're not missing it. There's literally nothing worse than walking up as the bus is pulling away.
Oh, terrible.
Especially when you're trying to get there for early park entry and you're like, oh no.
Yes.
So it's a big difference.
All right. If you have any questions, please reach out. We'd be happy to help you. We're nerds about this kind of stuff.
Totally.
I could say and go through timestamps from every past trip and list off times for you because I like the data, but I won't bore you with that. But we like to help with these kind of strategies. It's fun for us. So,
and it is totally different for everybody. Just like Krystle said, like depending on what your family likes, what types of rides they like, what's most important to them, it may not be the same as for us. Like there are typically like a lot of our rides kind of overlapped because you can probably tell like those are some of the more popular rides. And so that's where it's better to use those as an early park entry or as a rope drop ride. But depending on what you like, you may not like that ride, or that might not be anything that you're interested in. And we would want to make sure that you make the most out of your day.
Yes. Especially if this is like your once in a lifetime trip. We go often enough that like if I don't get on Tron on that trip, it's not a deal breaker for me. But that might be your one ride that you need to ride. So we're going to look at things different to get you on Tron.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate all of our listeners, and we hope you have a great week. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wanderlust and Wishes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Until next time, happy travels.
Bye for now.